The undisputed campus beauty Serafina and I had been in love for 3 years. By all rights, we had made a solid pinky swear to apply to the exact same university. But when I, bouncing like a golden retriever, excitedly clutched my acceptance letter and went to find her, I actually overheard her telling someone else. Did he actually believe that? I was literally just pulling his leg. I'm heading to Beijing all by my fabulous self. Those 3 sentences felt like a ninja throwing star aimed straight at my heart. The pain practically paralyzed me. I slumped to the ground, crying a river for almost half an hour until I finally managed to scrape my dignity back together. From the initial grief and agony, to the bubbling resentment and sheer unwillingness to accept it later, my emotions were basically on a wild roller coaster, doing loop-de-loops non-stop. But surprisingly, right in that moment I felt weirdly zen. That fierce emotional hurricane from just a second ago was now as dead quiet as the ocean surface right after the tide rolls out. I aggressively wiped my tears, took a few deep Darth Vader breaths, marched right up to Serafina, and tried my hardest to keep a poker face as I announced, my acceptance letter just arrived. But in that split second I swear I saw a flash of oh snap, I'm busted guilt in her eyes. But maybe my tear-blurred vision was just playing tricks on me. Serafina offered a faint smile and said, my letter arrived too. I stared at her without even blinking and said, you promised me that if I got into the same school as you, then... Before I could even finish my dramatic monologue, I was rudely cut off. Orion, I'm sorry. There's this tiny little thing I forgot to tell you. Serafina's eyes nervously dodged to the side. My mom absolutely forbade me from studying medicine. She went full tiger mom and forced me to apply to Beijing University. I asked softly. But you literally said your ultimate dream was to become a doctor? She furrowed her perfectly plucked eyebrows, looking incredibly annoyed. You know how bossy my mom is. She kept whining about how being a doctor is exhausting and totally unappreciated, so she strong-armed me into majoring in finance. I bowed my head, thinking a whole stand-up routine in my mind. Serafina, is this really the bargain bin excuse you're using to brush me off? Do you seriously think anyone would buy this script? Yes, your mom is tough, but since when could she actually force you to do anything? Every time you two argued, didn't it always end with her waving the white flag and giving in? But I swallowed those spicy comebacks. I just looked up at her and calmly asked, so, I guess this means we won't be attending the same university anymore, right? Serafina lowered her head, switching to her sweet-talking voice to coax me. I'm so sorry, Orion. Please don't be mad. How about I treat you to a fancy lobster dinner tonight? Besides, it's not like we're cutting off contact forever. We can still call and FaceTime like usual. I didn't utter a single syllable. I just dramatically turned on my heel and walked away. Serafina, you are officially canceled from my life. I will never contact you again. During the summer vacation, she did ask me to hang out a few times, but I dodged every bullet by making up random excuses. After that, she stopped calling me too, but I still frequently saw the update as she posted on social media. She was completely unleashing her wild side, dragging her squad on a cross-country tour from south to north. A few days ago, she was chilling in Tibet, and a few days later, she was already roaming Inner Mongolia. Today, when I opened my social media, I saw a photo of her having a blast at the beach. There were about 6 or 7 people in the picture, all faces I recognized. There were her classmates and also her childhood besties, both guys and girls. Today, they took a ton of group photos. In the picture, she turned her back to the ocean, smiling radiantly. Look at that. Without me, she was having the time of her life. I suddenly remembered my past naive babbling to her. I had told her that after the college entrance exams, I wanted to go see the ocean. At that time, she scoffed disdainfully. What's so fascinating about a giant puddle of salt water? So it turned out, it wasn't that she didn't like the ocean. She just didn't want to go see the ocean with me. Having him stick to me like superglue 24/7 is honestly kind of annoying. This was the exact quote she said that day. But I had never known. So it turned out she despised me that much. Despised me so much that she purposely fed me a lie about wanting to be a doctor, making Beijing University her target. So that when I applied to Beijing, she quietly pulled a fast one and applied to Nanjing University instead. Did she really hate me to that extreme? Was she that terrified of going to the same school as me? But hey, I'm not totally shameless. I actually have a functioning ego. If I had known earlier that she was sick of me, I wouldn't have clung to her leg every single day. Clearly, I had also once felt her genuine fondness for me. Serafina and I were basically childhood sweethearts. We grew up together since the diaper days. Our family and her family had been next-door neighbors for over 15 years. We first met each other in kindergarten. At that time, my family had just moved, and I, having to go to a brand new kindergarten, couldn't see my old buddies anymore, so I cried a literal waterfall. That morning, Serafina trotted over, handed me a lollipop, patted my head, and coaxed. Such a handsome little brother, if you keep crying, you won't be pretty anymore. From then on, I became Serafina's personal little tail. Wherever she went, I followed. Not just at kindergarten, but at home too. After discovering that I was her next-door neighbor, every time we got home from kindergarten, I didn't even bother stepping through my own front door. Instead, I sprinted straight into her house. My mom was completely helpless. Meanwhile, Mother Sarah just smiled until her eyes turned into little crescents, joking that she had scored a free son. Actually, Serafina's parents were pretty shocked too, because before this she absolutely loathed playing with boys, claiming that boys were way too barbaric. Mother Sarah once asked her, "Sarah, why do you like playing with Orion so much?" Serafina pinched my cheeks and declared, because little brother Orion is super handsome. When he smiles he even has dimples. I like watching him smile. I grinned goofily, showing all my teeth. I like playing with you too, big sister. Under the endless pampering of both sets of parents, even the neighborhood aunties, uncles, and the girl next door treated me incredibly well. From childhood to adulthood, I practically had zero worries. I just grew up carefree and clueless. But people who are spoiled rotten from a young age usually end up being hopelessly naive. Until I hit high school, I still thought I was just a little kid. Towards Serafina, I always genuinely saw her as an older sister. However, it was Serafina herself who took the initiative to close the gap between us. She made me realize that I had grown up, and that I could actually have the thoughts of a grown man. The very first time I received a love letter was in 10th grade. I was completely dumbfounded, never expecting a girl to actually like me. Driven by pure curiosity, I spilled the tea to Serafina. Unexpectedly, her face instantly darkened like an approaching thunderstorm. "Orion, you are only in 10th grade! Absolutely no puppy love allowed." Her tone was as serious as a judge. "Of course not. It's not like I like that girl anyway," I replied immediately without a second thought. "But do you mean that later on, if you meet someone you like, you'll start a high school romance?" She tensed up and grabbed my hand tightly. "I don't know either. Orion, I absolutely forbid you from liking anyone else." Serafina stared a hole into me, emphasizing every single syllable. In her eyes, it looked like a literal bonfire was blazing. Intense emotions were surging. In that exact moment, it was like I got hit by a lightning bolt of realization. Could it be? Was it exactly what I thought? Did Serafina like me? I had been heavily brainwashed by too many cheesy K-dramas, so my brain instantly started projecting all sorts of sugary sweet, romantic scenarios. Only the main characters were replaced by me and her. In the future, would Serafina and E be just like the couples in those idol dramas? A diabetes-inducing sweet romance followed by marriage? That actually sounds pretty epic. Oh no, the more I thought about it, the more scandalous it felt. My face started burning up, flushing all the way down to my neck. "Anyway, you have to promise me. For the 3 years of high school, no dating," Serafina instructed with utmost seriousness. I was completely lost in my own romantic daydreams, nodding aggressively like a chicken pecking at rice. From then on, I became exceptionally clingy with her. Every day after school, I no longer rushed home to watch my favorite anime. Instead, I sat by the basketball court, waiting for her dance practice to finish, so we could walk home together. A clueless teenager like me had zero idea how to hide his feelings. The overflowing affection in my eyes was so glaringly obvious that a blind person could probably see it. Everyone around us could tell that I had a massive crush on Serafina. The way we interacted gradually shifted too. Before, she always called me little kiddo, treated me like a baby brother, and loved taking care of me. But later on, slowly but surely, I became the one taking care of her. She chronically skipped breakfast, so every morning I would smuggle an extra portion of food out, and on our way to school, I'd stare her down until she finished every bite. When the weather changed, I would aggressively text her, reminding her to wear an extra layer the very next day. Whenever she caught a cold, I panicked harder than she did, having all the cold meds locked and loaded for her. But at first, she laughed and called me her personal little butler. Gradually, though, she started losing her patience. She even complained that I was acting like her mother, trying to micromanage her life 24/7. I felt so wronged. I was literally just caring about her. Eventually, there was one time she genuinely blew a fuse at me. It was the summer of 11th grade. One of Serafina's besties was hosting a birthday party, and dragged her out to a karaoke bar to party all night long. Terrified that her mom wouldn't approve, she begged me to be her alibi, telling her mom she was going over to a classmate's house for a hardcore study session, prepping for the brutal 12th grade, and would just sleep over. Come on, in my mom's eyes, you are the ultimate golden boy. With you as my witness, my mom will 100% buy it and let me out for the night. I agreed to cover for her. As a result, that night I was casually scrolling through social media, and oh my god, I saw the photos her friend posted. Turns out they were chugging alcohol at the karaoke joint. I was absolutely paralyzed with shock. Serafina had never touched a single drop of alcohol in her life. She was only a junior in high school, still a minor. How on earth could she be drinking? Furthermore, she hadn't even fully recovered from her cold. She still had a mild fever. Drinking like a fish in that condition, wouldn't that totally wreck her health? On the table, the empty liquor bottles were piled up like a mini mountain. God knows how much they had actually chugged. I was so anxious I was pacing like an ant on a hot frying pan. I immediately dialed Serafina's number, but she ghosted my call. I paced back and forth in my room like a spinning top. Half an hour passed and my paranoia won. I sprinted straight to her house and spilled all the tea to Mother Sarah. Upon hearing the news, Mother Sarah completely flipped out. She dashed to the karaoke bar and dragged Serafina home by her ear right out of the VIP room. Mother Sarah even roasted the birthday girl right on the spot, accusing her of corrupting her precious daughter. At that moment, Serafina's social reputation hit rock bottom. After that, she was grounded for 3 solid days. When she was finally released from captivity, she called me out for a meetup. Right in front of my house, for the very first time, she unleashed her fury on me. She yelled, "Orion, who do you think you are? What gives you the right to micromanage my life? I absolutely loathe backstabbing snitches." I stood there, totally stunned. I had never seen Serafina act so fiercely demonic. I went home and sulked for a very long time, vowing to myself that I would never ever care about her again. That whole summer I didn't initiate contact with her a single time. By the time senior year officially kicked off, shortly before my birthday, Serafina actually bought the gaming console he had been drooling over to give me as a gift. She stood right in front of me, looking up with big puppy dog eyes, her voice ridiculously pitiful. "Little Orion, I was wrong. Please don't be mad at me anymore, okay?" At that moment I had absolutely zero backbone. One sweet word from her and my anger evaporated like a puddle in the Sahara. From then on, Serafina and I still bickered occasionally, but every single time she just had to sweet-talk me for 2 seconds, and my heart turned into absolute mush. During the second semester of our senior year, I asked Serafina where she planned to apply. She boldly claimed she wanted to be a doctor and was aiming for G University. Then she bounced the question back. "What about you?" Without skipping a beat, I replied, "Wherever you go, I go." But I was sweating bullets, worried my grades weren't good enough, because G University's cutoff scores were notoriously sky-high every year. Serafina promised she would tutor me. This was also one of the main reasons I was so hopelessly whipped for her. She was ridiculously brilliant. I clearly studied way harder than she did, but my grades couldn't even hold a candle to hers. She always looked like she couldn't care less, yet somehow casually ranked at the very top every exam. She was the teacher's absolute favorite pet. Under Serafina's strict coaching and supervision, my grades miraculously skyrocketed. One time I boldly asked her, "If I get into the same university as you, will you grant me one wish?" I looked at her with stars in my eyes. She chuckled softly and teased, "Can I decline?" I furiously shook my head. "Nope! If you say no, I'll literally lose all motivation to study." She laughed helplessly. "Alright, fine, it's a deal." What that wish actually was, both she and I knew perfectly well. Yep, that's right. My master plan was to officially confess my love to her the moment I got into G University. When the exam scores dropped, the results were exactly as I calculated. I solidly secured my spot at G University. But the moment I received the admission letter, I finally realized Serafina had been plotting this grand escape for a long time. She desperately wanted to shake me off. While stepping into university life, everyone else was buzzing with excitement for a fresh start. I was the only one moping around, my mood hitting rock bottom, getting metaphorically stabbed in the back by the girl I loved most. I spiraled into a deep dark abyss of self-doubt. Oh man, was I really that obnoxious? So repulsive that she had to jump through all these hoops just to dump me? After starting college, G University and Nan University were 1,000 miles apart, but hey, she achieved her goal. Meanwhile, I wandered around like a low-battery zombie, aimlessly drifting through my entire first semester of college. I zoned out during lectures and blanked out after class. I had never actually taken my studies seriously. Compared to the hardcore med students around me who were basically burying themselves in textbooks, I felt like a total alien. Truth be told, I had zero interest in medicine to begin with. I had never even entertained the thought of becoming a doctor. Back then, purely because I was blinded by my crush on Serafina, I blindly picked this school. At that time, I was busy daydreaming that once we hit college, we would stroll around campus holding hands, living our best, disgustingly sweet romantic life. I had completely forgotten that in college, you actually have to study hard. Everything flipped upside down during the winter break of my freshman year. After the semester ended, I hopped on a flight back home. Mid-flight, a passenger sitting next to me suddenly had a massive heart attack, to the point where he even stopped breathing. Encountering a crisis like this for the very first time, I was so terrified I froze like a deer in headlights. Then, the flight attendants and other passengers also went into full panic mode, clueless about what to do. Right at that critical second, an elderly passenger sprang into action. He immediately performed CPR on the patient. 20 grueling minutes later, the patient finally started breathing normally again. By the time the plane touched down, he had regained consciousness. The moment he opened his eyes, many passengers around us were literally crying tears of relief. Just a hair's breadth away, a human life could have vanished right before our very eyes. But now he was brought back from the brink of death. Witnessing that doctor snatch a life back from the Grim Reaper right in front of me, my heart experienced a monumental earthquake. Up until that very moment, I only vaguely knew that a doctor's job was to save people. But this was the first time I witnessed the absolute magic of fighting for survival. Who knew a pair of hands that could rewrite destiny could be so incredibly badass? Without even realizing it, I thought I want to become a badass like that too. For the first time in my existence, I felt a burning hunger to pursue a career. I wanted to be a doctor. For the entire winter break, I locked myself in my room, desperately cramming to relearn all the knowledge I had snoozed through during the first semester. I didn't step outside. I didn't text Serafina. I didn't see her once. I didn't even bother to find out if she came home for the holidays or not. For the rest of my college years, I poured every ounce of my soul into studying. Studying medicine is no joke. It's brutally exhausting. I swear it was more draining than my senior year of high school. Every single day, I crawled out of bed before the sun even thought about rising, and studied until the dead of night before dragging myself back to the dorm. My schedule was packed to the brim. There was literally never enough time. 4 years of college, I practically never went shopping or hung out for fun. But the blood, sweat, and tears paid off. I snatched the scholarship every single semester. The professors actually started remembering my name. Staying insanely busy was the ultimate remedy to cure all my pathetic emotional weakness. Slowly but surely, Serafina faded from my mind. Only occasionally would I catch wind of her gossip through our old mutual friends. Turns out she bagged a boyfriend during the second semester of her freshman year. He was the literal campus god of their school. But that romance only lasted for a little over 3 months before crashing and burning. Over the next 3 years, she went on to date a string of other guys. But not a single relationship managed to survive past 1 semester. The first time I saw a picture of her and her boyfriend in our high school group chat, I felt absolutely nothing. I knew then that I had 100% moved on from her. In my senior year, I finally started dating. My girlfriend was a sophomore junior named Lyra. She was a prodigy at the art academy, and so drop-dead gorgeous it felt almost illegal. Thanks to my professor's stellar recommendation, I scored a gig at the art academy as a medical assistant. That's when it hit me. Wow, our university actually had an entire art department. Every single student there was an elite special admissions talent. Their curriculum had absolutely zero overlap with med school. Looking at us miserable med students, grinding our lives away in books every single day while they lived stress-free lives. Deep down, I was a mix of intense jealousy and hardcore admiration. The first time I set foot in the art academy and saw the members practicing, I was completely floored. That physique! That aura! It literally opened up a whole new universe for me. I stared so hard my eyeballs almost popped out. Lyra was the captain of the dance team, and officially the person I sneakily stared at the most. Every time she danced, that sheer confidence mixed with a dash of arrogance in her eyes completely glued my eyes to her. Who would have guessed that, after the very first time I helped bandage a scrape on her knee, she would boldly confess her feelings to me? It was so direct that it totally caught me off guard. My brain flatlined. I could only reply purely on autopilot. Sure, okay. Later on, I heard the piping hot tea from her teammates. Turns out, she had been nursing a massive crush on me since her freshman year. All because I once casually handed her a Band-Aid. Hearing that, it jogged my memory a bit. A year ago, right in front of the campus mini-mart, there was this girl who scratched her hand trying to rip open a package. I conveniently tossed her a Peppa Pig-themed Band-Aid. At that time, the girl blushed so hard her ears turned red. Turns out, that girl was Lyra. She told me that every single person on her dance team knew. She was hopelessly pining for me. She even stalked me to my elective classes, just to get a 5-second glimpse of my face. All her friends were hyping her up to shoot her shot, but she heard I was the legendary study god of the med department, and panicked that I only cared about my GPA, so she chickened out of confessing for ages. The day I magically appeared as the medical assistant for her team, they all lost their collective minds with joy. Her teammates relentlessly roasted her, claiming that she was strutting around displaying her feathers like a very obvious peacock in front of me every single day, desperately showing off. Until finally, one of her ride-or-die besties couldn't take the cringe anymore, and threatened that if Lyra didn't confess, she was going to swoop in and steal me herself. Lyra went into a full-blown panic. So that day, when I was busy cleaning up the scrape on her knee, that mischievous friend intentionally loud whispered to me, "Hey handsome, are you free later?" Before I could even process the question, Lyra aggressively shoved her aside, looked up at me and blurted, "Can you be my boyfriend? Yes or no?" I blue-screened for a solid second before replying, "Sure, okay." She froze right on the spot, genuinely convinced her ears were hallucinating. That friend shoved her from behind. "Why are you glitching out? Girl!" He literally said yes. Only then did Lyra's soul return to her body, and she proceeded to grin like an absolute goofball at me for the rest of the day. But later on, she would constantly interrogate me. "Did you actually secretly like me from the start? Otherwise, why did you agree the millisecond I confessed?" "I bet you were totally thirsting for me too," I replied. "Then why do you think you came to our team as a medical assistant? Could it be that you infiltrated our team as a medical assistant just so you could stare at my face every single day? Are you the type who acts all cool and aloof on the outside but is secretly head over heels obsessed with me on the inside? Do you just love me in your wild imagination? Can't you just lie to me a little bit? Feed me some sweet nothing to make me happy?" I confessed. "Honestly, the very first time I saw you, it was a literal thunderbolt to the heart. Everything was a carefully calculated master plan just to get close to you." She triumphantly tilted her chin up. "I knew it, you rascal! You finally fell right into my brilliant trap." This little girl was seriously way too cute. Even though she was younger than me when we were together, she took care of me way more than I did her. Every single morning, even if the sky was falling, she religiously stuck to her 1-hour dance practice routine. Before dating me, she'd roll out of bed at 6:30 a.m., finish her workout, and then grab breakfast. After we got together, just to sync up with my brutal med student schedule, she shifted her alarm to 6 a.m. The moment she finished sweating, it was the perfect time to grab breakfast with me. Some days when I was too lazy to function and go to the cafeteria, she would literally buy breakfast and deliver it right to the door of my dorm. I told her, honestly, you don't need to torture yourself like this. Waking up at the crack of dawn every day, if you don't get enough beauty sleep, it'll wreck your health. She just giggled cheekily. "You don't need to worry about me. I have the stamina of an ox. You are basically my personal charging station. Just staring at your face for a few minutes every morning gives me enough juice to power through the whole day." Maybe it was because Lyra was just so exceptionally good at pampering people. Dating her made me realize that love could actually be ridiculously sweet. We practically never argued, because every time our opinions clashed, she would just happily let me win. When winter break rolled around, Lyra escorted me to the airport, putting on a flawless, pitiful act. "Are you seriously not going to pack me in your suitcase and take me home?" "Yes," I replied dryly. "You've literally asked me that 180 times already." She continued her dramatic monologue. "Honestly, I don't even need an official title. I can just hide out in a hotel nearby. Whenever you have a spare minute, just pop over and gaze upon my beauty. Just please don't suffer from amnesia and forget I exist." Why didn't I realize earlier that she was an Oscar-worthy actress? It took a monumental amount of sweet-talking to finally pacify her. After that, I waved goodbye. A few days before the Lunar New Year, my mom casually dropped the bomb that Serafina's mom had invited our whole family over for dinner because Serafina was bringing a boyfriend home to meet the parents. Hearing this piping hot gossip, my spirit instantly perked up. Whoa! Sister Sarah is actually bringing a guy home for the official inspection. That's a historical first. Is he handsome? My mom replied. Even your auntie has only seen a photo so far. Rumor has it he's extremely good looking. I nodded wisely. Makes sense. Sister Sarah's standards have always been in the stratosphere. When we arrived at Serafina's house, I spotted a dashing young man lounging on the sofa. Short black hair, crisp white button-down. He looked impeccably sharp and handsome. After graduating from college, Serafina entered her family's corporate empire, learning the ropes of business management from her dad. This guy was actually her personal assistant. He graduated from an elite big-name university, and within less than a month of joining the company, he bagged the assistant role. And shockingly soon after, the two started dating. Mother Sarah was over the moon with this new boyfriend. Compared to the questionable cast of exes in her past, this guy was an absolute massive upgrade. I had heard through the grapevine that previously, Serafina had dated a bartender from a club. Back then, her mom was having daily heart attacks, terrified she'd go off the rails. Thank the heavens that tragic romance only lasted a grand total of 1 month before they split. Mother Sarah gossiped with my mom, casually spilling a massive amount of tea regarding Serafina's messy love life. Oh boy, her romantic history is practically a Netflix series. Once at the Bai family house, the parents retreated to the cozy living room to chatter, while I kicked back lazily on the sofa, scrolling on my phone while being aggressively force-fed dog food, PDA by Serafina and her boyfriend. The two of them were glued together the entire time. Besides the initial greeting at the door, where Serafina threw a casual hi my way, she immediately dove headfirst back into her gaming world with her boyfriend. "You're so silly, don't just run around like a headless chicken, just be a good girl and follow me." "Ah, why did you misfire again? You're about to drag the whole enemy squad right to us." Hearing just a couple of lines, I instantly clocked what survival game they were playing. Right then, I honestly missed Lyra a little bit. She was the one who had tutored me in this exact game. In the gaming world, I was a certified undeniable noob. My sense of direction was so tragically awful that even inside a moderately large virtual house, I could somehow manage to get horribly lost. But Lyra was always incredibly patient and sweet with me. No matter how colossally I messed up, even if we made it to the final circle and I completely blew our cover, getting her ruthlessly sniped, she never once raged at me. She'd just laugh and say, "It's all good. It's literally just a bunch of pixels, babe." During dinner, the parents practically formed a fan club, endlessly